为了 netbook 的报道呢 relocate 到台湾。为了这个我们给他鼓鼓掌好不好？
2 weeks we're doing a little show between 10 and 15 minutes where we're just talking about the mobile computing lifestyle, the netbook lifestyle, telling people also a little bit about Taiwan because it's kind of interesting. Everybody knows made in Taiwan, but no one knows about when I'm asking someone in the US, for example, tell me the capital of Taiwan, they're telling me Bangkok. Right? So it's, you have to educate them a little bit. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying my very best. What I would like to show you, I mean, we had a lot of technical talk going on and some really, really interesting projects. And I would like to give you a little roundup about netbook, where netbook really are coming from, and how they're developing in the next couple of years. Not in the next couple of years, but let's say in the next 2 years. So I will give you my personal definition on netbooks. We will take a look at the development and a look at the upcoming markets. So I have to say that I'm absolutely staying with the limitation that Intel is putting on the market, because Intel is telling all the ODMs and the manufacturers over here in Taiwan, if you want to buy our Intel Atom CPU, the N270, that's a diamond core, make sure that you're matching these limitations. That means your device can't be bigger than 10.2 inch. There are some manufacturers, Lenovo and Samsung, who weren't caring about this, and therefore they got kicked out of the Intel subsidized program for the Intel Atom, so they have to pay a higher price right now because they were using the Intel Atom N270 and N280 in devices above 10.2 inch, 11.6, and now Lenovo comes out with the Lenovo IdeaPad S12, which is a 12-inch system, but still using the Intel Atom N270. So I think to define a netbook, it needs to have between 7 and 10.2 inch display, maximum of 2 gigabytes of RAM. I still believe that netbooks are the main carrier for the penetration of solid-state drives onto the consumer market. I mean, the first EPC was based on an SSD. It was a 4 gigabyte SSD in EPC 4G back in 2007. So, but you still, right now we see it evolving. More and more manufacturers are coming out with networks, putting big 2.5-inch hard disks in there, up to 250 gigabytes right now. 3 to 6 cell batteries, 6 cell battery, forget about 3 cell battery, even though that a lot of manufacturers are still selling netbooks with 3 cell batteries. But I did a survey on my side, about 2,000 people, 3,000 people were participating in this, and people are really, really looking for long battery life in a netbook. So 6 cell battery, something between 7, 8, 9 hours, is kind of becoming a standard on the market. So when it comes again to the form factor, 800 to 1400 grams, so lightweight. I mean, it's a huge difference when you're carrying around all day long. You're carrying around a 3 kilogram device or a device that only weighs 1 kilogram. And of course, the price point. That's why netbooks really, really became popular. $200 to $600. We already see devices right now. First generation Acer Aspire 1 or first generation of the EPC is getting sold in the US like for $200. So in Europe it's like 150 euros. It's really, really very cheap. And that was also, of course, one of the main advantages of these devices, and that's why they were so successful. So to give you a little idea, what was pretty much the first platform where it all started. It was this CPU over here, the AMD Geode. Of course, due to the OLPC project, was kind of the start of all. Of course, due to the OLPC project, was kind of the start of all this netbook hype. Even though that the fellows from the OLPC project kind of missed it. It was more kind of idealistic thing, you know, not a business plan behind this. Nicholas Negroponte over here on the right, and Walter Bender, the great developer of the Sugar desktop interface, who left the OLPC project after Negroponte announced that they are now going to cooperate with Microsoft. So he immediately left after this, whatever that means. Over here, yeah, that's the first OLPC XO. You know, the interesting thing is over here we have the first EPC,
And I guess not so many people know over here that the first EPC was also based on the AMD Geode, because they took over the old PC platform at that time, the EPC developer team, and then they figured out, okay, we might need a little bit more performance, and the Intel Classmate PC was already in development, so they asked Intel to ship us over a couple of platforms. So they got a Celeron CPU platform, mobile Celeron at that time. And then in 2007, over here, during the Computex, they announced the first EPC. And they never told Intel anything about this. They just said, okay, we're also building something for education market or for the emerging market, something like the Classmate PC. And all of a sudden, they're coming out with a piece of design that everybody wanted to get. And the interesting thing, too, is the first EPC came with a Linux operating system, the Xandra system at that time. When we're looking at the first year of the netbook market, we had a sale of a market share of 80% Linux OS netbooks on the market and only 20% of Microsoft Windows netbooks, which changed completely after Microsoft figured out, oh my goodness, we made something wrong. We missed a complete market. So Microsoft changed their license policy at that time for the Windows XP Home, just to make sure that people are still buying a 10-year-old desktop operating system. So they changed it on. They came up with a so-called ultra-low cost PC license, which they announced like for some $15. I had a lot of talks with manufacturers over here. I can definitely tell you they even got subsidized. Right? Whether it was for no cost getting a Windows XP Home on netbooks, or that they even got paid from Microsoft to get Windows XP on the network market. I mean, that's the only market that is generating growth rates in the IT industry at the moment. So and last year we have 14 million netbook sales. So think about this, if Microsoft would just pay like some $5 for each license to get it onto a netbook, that is something like $60 million for having a monopoly on the craziest market or the craziest hardware market at the moment. That's pretty cheap for them. So first EPC based on a Celeron CPU, EPC 4G, then came the 2G and the 8G, and then the whole market changed completely in last year, March, during the IDF in Shanghai, when Intel announced the Intel Atom CPU. So Intel announced two different versions of the Atom. It was, on the one hand, it was the Diamond core, and the other one, well, it was called Centrino and Atom before, but it's the Diamond core that you can see right now as a standard CPU in netbooks. Like, I think 98% of all the netbooks are running on the Intel Atom with the Diamond core. And the Silverthorne or the Mango platform, which was meant to be in MIDs. The problem is right now it's getting kind of mixed up by a lot of manufacturers that are building just 12-inch devices, getting the Silverthorne core in there, which is a CPU that's definitely not offering you such a decent performance, especially when it comes to heavy loaded of websites that are heavy loaded with flash banners. The Silverthorne CPU just sucks big time. I'm sorry, I hope there's no Intel developer in here. Okay, so maybe I should go forward, that makes sense. I think in the next couple of weeks, months, the whole market is changing again radically, because now some two players are stepping onto the netbook market. Well, they don't call it netbook, they would call it a smartbook. There are not so many companies in the world that have as much money on their bank as Intel has. Qualcomm and ARM are definitely one of them. And these guys really, really want to get market shares. So Qualcomm with a Snapdragon platform, ARM with all the different CPU architectures. Oh, geez, I think I missed something. Sorry, guys. Where is it? I guess I kind of connected my slides a little bit differently. So Qualcomm with a Snapdragon platform, which will create devices, or will see devices at a very, very low price point. I'm talking about something that can even start below $150 US. We will have very, very small, slim devices with a huge and long battery life, like a 3-cell battery that can run the system for up to 10 hours. And with a standby time for a week while you can still be online. You can, for example, receive push email. Right? ARM and Qualcomm will aggressively enter the market in the next couple of months, and they really, really want to get some market share. So this is definitely interesting for developers, especially when you don't want to develop on an x86 platform and you're looking for some alternatives. Smartbooks will definitely kick off big time by the end of this year. So this guy over here, you know, another Taiwanese fellow, Wenqi Shen from VIA, the CEO of VIA, with a VIA Nano CPU. A great CPU. Unfortunately, VIA has some problems with chipset in general. That's their old problem. These guys at Centaur Technology in the US, who created the CPU over here, that's a developer team of only 100 people. I mean, I don't know how many people or how many thousand people are working on the Intel Atom platform. They are, when it comes to the architecture, 64-bit out-of-order architecture, they're kind of 2 generations ahead of the Intel Atom. But again, problem is chipset combination. But I'm pretty sure that in a couple of months we will also see combination of the VIA Nano CPU together with NVIDIA Eon chipsets. And this is something I'm going to show you next. Okay, here's the Nano again. And over here we're starting with the NVIDIA solutions. That's a reference board of the NVIDIA Ion chipset that you can already buy in netbooks right now. So you have combinations of Intel Atom with the NVIDIA Ion chipset. Interesting story around this is, of course, the first manufacturers and ODMs over here in Taiwan then asked Intel, okay, now we want to, after this little new chipset is coming out from NVIDIA, which offers you about 10 times more graphic performance than the 945 chipset from Intel is offering you, that is combined with the Intel Atom, and offering you more graphic performance than any other onboard graphic card from Intel. So the first manufacturer came up to Intel, okay, we don't want to buy a chipset anymore, just give us a CPU, because there's something way better on the market. So what Intel said, hey, you can't buy a single CPU, you always have to buy the whole bundle. So 24 hours later, it got revealed, I guess it was DigiTimes who brought this news up, and Intel immediately stepped in and said, no, everything is cool, you can buy a single CPU. So how they worked around this was just, right now you can buy, I think the combination between the Intel Atom CPU and the 945 chipset is at $25 for 1,000 units. But when you buy the single CPU only, it's $45. So that's the way Intel tries to put a little bit of pressure on the market. I mean, what is their platform? Somehow I can understand them. So that's a Pico ITX reference design board from NVIDIA with the Eon. And the next one is definitely, well, it got our Best of Computex award for future technologies. That's the NVIDIA Tegra platform that we will see also by the end of the year in many different devices, whether it's MIDs or netbooks or tablets. I mean, this little board can do a playback of a 1080p file with a power consumption of under a watt. And I think in the near future, this is going to change a lot of mobile internet devices, a lot of netbooks. This can build really, really small device with this at a very, very low cost price point. So this was the slide I wanted to add right after the Qualcomm one, so sorry about that, I mixed it a little bit up. You know, all kinds of different devices and solutions we might see are based on the Snapdragon. You can be sure that we are also going to see some really huge players stepping onto this market of the smartbooks, like Acer is going to announce something, Sony Ericsson is going to announce a smartbook. Just today a rumor came up that Dell is also coming to the market with a smartbook. So it's getting really busy, and it's good to have some competition and alternatives. All right, good. My time is good. Okay, next Intel Atom platform. Pineview is going to be announced in 4 weeks during the IDF in San Francisco. I can only recommend you guys to take a look at this and take a look at the license going on. I'm pretty sure that we'll see a lot of new devices, especially tablets will be very important for Intel. We will see a lot of tablet solutions during the IDF. And so that's on the left side you see the old platform, on the right side you see the new one. Expect the first devices based on the Pine Trail platform by the end of the year. ASUS is going to launch their EPCT 101H, that's a netvertible, during CES, so in about 4 weeks, in about 4 months because it's in January. And so this will be the first EPC based on the Pineview. Okay, again some Pineview. Yeah, just to give you a little idea about how successful netbooks were. In 2008, about 14 million netbooks got sold. That's 2 million units more than the iPhone. And everybody knows the iPhone is a pretty successful device, right? So for 2009, we're expecting about 35 million netbooks. And yeah, it looks pretty decent. We have so many players on the market right now. People have a lot of options and alternatives. You can choose, you know, your favorite netbook, and you really, I think we have right now, if you would add the Shenzhen manufacturers in China to this, we have at least some 50 to 60 manufacturers that are producing netbooks. So just a brief overview how different netbooks can be. I don't call these guys over here netbooks. I call it a netvertible. It's a kind of mix between a netbook and a convertible. EPCT 91 is using the Intel Silverthorne platform, meant to be on MIDs. It's a nice little device. It adds some extra usage scenarios for you because you can just use it as a tablet. You have a touch screen on there. So and the one that is getting announced in January, the EPC T101H, is just a bigger brother of this one, a 10-inch system, which will also offer multi-touch, especially with Windows 7. Okay, over here you can just see the tablet mode of the T91. More and more kids and educational netbooks are coming out. ASUS just started this cooperation with Disney, and this is quite successful right now. It's quite creating some buzz. I even see the commercials over here on the MIT all the time. And so they're sending it through the Disney channels. Disney just added a couple of applications on there, especially for kids, all in this Disney, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck theme. And education market, very, very important. Dell is, in my opinion, the biggest player on this right now because they created a whole ecosystem around the netbook. The first netbook that was really meant to be just for kids, just for the education market, the Dell Latitude 2100. Really, really cool device. Comes even with a touch screen. You see, you don't even need a back for this. And the interesting thing is this fellow over here, that you can store I think 25 to 30 Dell netbooks in there. You can recharge them all at one time, and the teacher of a class, for example, can also copy documents immediately on all these netbooks over there. So pretty cool infrastructure. They really thought about this, and yeah, leading the market with it at the moment. So finally, I mean, the name of my speech was about Linux networks and the opportunities in the cloud, and I'm only talking about hardware. I have only 10 minutes left. I'm sorry about this. I have to rush a little bit now. So, what about cloud computing? I guess this is one of the big questions in the next couple of years, because I kind of have the feeling that Microsoft is missing markets in the last 10 years in general. Right? So they kind of missed the netbook market completely, and they missed the cloud computing market also, because Windows Azure won't be available in the next 24 months. I mean, they're working on it, right? But still, these little fellows over here with their Chrome OS will be way ahead of this, and I see huge potential in this. I think I even have a little screenshot. Oh no, that's Moblin first. Intel Moblin, in my opinion, very, very important for the network market, very, very important to gain some market shares back from Microsoft for the Linux community on netbooks, because in general we really need standards. We need standards, we need platforms where developers can develop on, and I mean, Moblin is now getting used by Xandros, for example. Linpulse, the Taiwanese guys are also developing on top of Moblin. So it seems to be a kind of break-even point or turning point for Linux on netbooks again, after they had the market and kind of lost it to Microsoft. But Moblin has, in my opinion, the opportunity to gain this back, especially because Intel is really, really pushing it into the channels. So yeah, and over here we have the Chrome OS. I don't know if this is made by Photoshop or if this is a real creation. I'm sorry, I just don't know. I thought it was good to put it up so that we are getting a little idea. I think, well, we would see it in October. You can expect the first developer versions, public ones, in October. And it should be quite interesting because, I mean, who is the biggest service provider on the internet right now? It is Google. It is with Google Docs, if you're using Google Mail or Google whatever. I mean, they're coming out with something new like every day, right? So I don't even know what they just launched today. Maybe they launched already some new services. So what Google wants, of course, they want the user to get connected to their services on the web because that's the way they're making money, right? Even though that everything is free, I mean, Google has a monopoly on the online advertising market, so they need to get you connected to the apps. And due to the fact that they announced it, especially for networks, and also Intel is cooperating with Google on Chrome OS. So this might be very, very interesting to see how this is going to perform. I'm expecting, you know, like something, a kind of Moblin backend with any kind of Chrome OS browser front end. So, but you know, we will see in October. And just to give you an idea what kind of device it could be used for, over here that's a CrunchPad. The CrunchPad is getting announced, it should be on the market in November. Price point around $399, 12-inch tablet. They're using a WebKit browser, but this system doesn't even have online storage anymore. So, of course, it will support a little flash memory for the operating system, but that's it. So it's all about getting people into the cloud. It's all about opening up a browser, using services. And TechCrunch, Michael Arrington with the CrunchPad, they are really going forward. So an interesting development on the market that I just spotted 2 days ago. Evans Data Corporation is a huge analyst from the United States, and they just said they had an online survey with about 500 developers, and they just said, okay, 1 in 5 developers working on applications for wireless devices are currently writing apps to run on netbooks. And an additional 24% expect to be writing apps to run on netbooks in the coming year. So, I mean, that's about 44% of the developers for mobile and wireless devices are going to start building and developing applications for netbooks. I have to rush a little bit, I know. Okay. Terry Krim, a good friend of mine, founder of netvibes.com, left NetVibes 2 years ago, started his own project called Jolly Cloud. You can go to the Jolly Cloud website and you can download. You have to apply for an invitation, but he sent out already 40,000 of them. In my opinion, not only a cloud computing OS, or here's NetVibes again, not only a cloud computing OS, but I kind of call it a social OS. Tariq has a huge background and record when it comes to social networking, and the way he combined this interface. By the way, the next version will be completely HTML. At the moment, he's using a Ubuntu Network Remix backend. he hired a couple of new developers now for his kernel. But the interesting thing is when you see over here the dashboard, it's the first thing you see when you're logging into the Jolly Cloud. Like on Twitter, like on Blurk, I know, Blurk, I have to get to Blurk again. You can follow people and groups, right? And every time someone is going, for example, is going to install a new application on his Jolly Cloud device, you will get a notice about this. You will get a notice, a notification when they are subscribing to new groups. Right? So it's kind of interesting to see what the people you're following are using, what kind of devices. So that's a dashboard where you can see all this, what is going on, messages and everything. And over here, what's that? Okay, over here you can just see what kind of applications you installed. There's a little info screen for the updates. If there are any updates for application available. Sorry about that. And that's his App Store. The App Store is running. There's a complete business plan even behind this, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to make money with it, right? So developers will be able to sell their apps also over the Jolly Cloud App Store, and it's really working fine. And I can only try to force you to try it out on your own, because it's just a completely different approach to cloud computing. So actually, that's it already. If you want to check out my site, netbooknews.com, we have a Twitter account, next to your Blurk account. That's my name. I'm on. When you type in my name, I'm signed up to all these social networking things, and that's my Twitter account. And yeah, if you have any more questions on this, I would be glad to answer them right now. Otherwise,
各位有没有什么样的问题想要请教？那用中文也可以，我可以待会翻译。
I can come over to him and give him the microphone.
There are many data sets that network will announce new production on network. Would you think it will change the market of the cloud computing or network market?
Well, there's a huge rumor going on that Apple wanted to launch a netbook. They're not going to launch a netbook, definitely not. They will come out with a kind of tablet version, right? Like a kind of big iPod Touch. I don't know, maybe it's called the iPad or something. I don't know. It will be a tablet. They will run iPhone OS on there, not the iPod Touch OS on this. And of course, they're taking advantage of their whole App Store thing, right? You should expect this device. I think just today, a first picture of it got leaked, even though it looked also, again, powered by Photoshop. But you already could get an impression how it will look like. So yeah, huge advantage from Apple. I think the way we are using cloud computing, it might change somehow, but I can tell you something. Tablets are on the market for 10 years right now, and they never had success, because people love keyboards. Right? And try to type an email. When people are telling me, "Oh, my iPhone is a netbook," I said, "Yeah, okay, then write some 7 articles on my blog a day on your iPhone, and then you know how cool your netbook is." Right? So it's a different market, different usage scenario. Right? Of course, Apple has a huge fan base. It will be successful somehow. I'm doubting the success for the mass market.
What kind of market do you think will the smart book go into? Will it be a consumer electronics or a niche market?
I think they will definitely get bundled with telcos, so that you need to go into the cloud with a smart book, because it's like 2 GB SSD, and you can store a lot of applications on there. So you would see them combined with a 3G contract, right? So, and that's the business plan behind this, right? Creating traffic, doing contracts, and I think they have the chance. If you can buy a device like this for $150, they have a huge chance on the consumer market, definitely. Oh, okay, my time is up. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your patience. And again, I will get to learn the next